Hello, listeners, and welcome to our little review of 2012. Pretty crazy year for games. A lot came out. There'll be a lot to talk about. The way things are going to work is we're basically just going to go through everything that came out last year, and then we will be doing our own personal top 10s, because everyone loves top 10s.
Mine's terrible, so don't look forward to mine.
And then, as a special little extra, at the end we'll be talking about what's coming out in 2013. Not everything. There's a good article on PC Gamer, if people haven't seen it, of pretty much everything announced for 2013. We're not going to go into that much depth. There's just a few things. We'll talk about a few of the bigger releases coming up. But for now, everything that came out in 2012. This is going to be done in the order they came out. Starting in January. Final Fantasy 13 Part 2.
Part 2.
By Square Enix. Ridiculous title.
Yeah. I've never understood why they've done Part 2s of
it's 13 and 10 now they've done Part 2.
Yeah.
Haven't they?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not a big Final Fantasy person, I have to be honest. The only one I've really played is 7.
Yeah, 7, 8, and 9 are the ones I've played. I haven't really bothered much with the rest.
Not much to say about this one. I'd heard the original Final Fantasy 13 wasn't very good, and I didn't hear a lot of good about Part 2.
I did start playing 13, but got pretty bored of it.
I've seen it in the bargain bins quite a bit, and I've been tempted to pick it up because it looked nice. The CGI, and all that looked nice, as most Final Fantasy do. I did play a bit of 10, and that at least looked nice. But I'm glad I didn't play 10, having seen reviews for it after the fact. Titus, the main character, looked flat out annoying with his laugh. Actually, I will say one thing. The main reason that I considered playing Final Fantasy 13 is what I think is the main character, Lightning. The girl with the hair does appear to actually be a good main character. She isn't annoying. Next up, we have one of the few games that came out by Konami, excluding Pro Evolution Soccer, which we won't talk about. We won't be talking about sports games. This was Neverdead. Did you see anything on Neverdead? It wasn't very. It wasn't very well marketed. It was basically a third-person slasher, hack and slash, like a fighter.
Yeah.
Except the gimmick here was that all your limbs could come off, and yet you were never dead because you didn't die. You could be reduced to a head, and you'd be running around. I'd forgotten, but one of the weird things for this was the soundtrack was comprised entirely of songs made by Megadeth, specifically for the game as well.
Really?
So
I'm about to try and find that now.
It had a decent soundtrack, but the game was just not very good. It was very, very boring. I mean, the story was ridiculous. The action was not very good. It was just a generic slasher. There wasn't anything special about it. The limbs coming off was funny the first couple of times, and then it became annoying because basically every enemy could knock you down to a head, and you obviously can't fight as a head. You got to roll around and attach a limb, and it just became really tedious.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
So yeah, not good for Konami, who haven't been very good for a long time. I can't think of many Konami games that have been very good. I mean, apart from Metal Gear Solid, they've not really been doing well. On to February. That was all for January. Nothing comes out in January though. I don't think anything's coming out in February for this year either. But February, by 2K Games / Digital Extremes, The Darkness 2. Very early contender for my disappointment of the year. It's not a disappointment of the year. We'll get to that later. But this was a game that they put out a demo on Steam. It came out on PSN, and it was amazing. It was an amazing demo. It was a really good shooter. For anyone who hasn't played The Darkness, it's based on graphic novels, I think. Basically, you're sort of possessed by a demon, kind of, and you have like tentacle powers, which are called the Darkness. So rather than playing with just two guns, because you can dual wield, you have two guns, and then you have two tentacles that you could kill people with as well.
Oh, right.
Darkness One, really shitty graphics wise. It was ugly, but quite a cool game. Darkness Two was crap, basically. the, the demo was basically the only good part, which was like the first hour of the game. It was a horribly front-loaded game. Really fun for like the first hour. The nice graphic style, that's one thing the game had going for it. But then it became very repetitive, and the story was just not very good. The ending was awful. It was sequel bait. They didn't wrap up
God.
anything. They did the cardinal sin of doing like the fake credits, and then they came back, and then they were like, "Oh, but wait!" And then they had an awful ending to the game. And final nail in the coffin was it wasn't very long. It was, or it might have been 5 hours. It was very short. It was a complete waste of money. I was so annoyed that I pre-ordered this on Steam, so I paid full price for the damn thing. Next up, Gotham City Imposters by Warner Brothers, developed by Monolith. Only I played this. I didn't play it very much. It was just a very cheap online shooter. You didn't actually play as Batman or the Joker. You played as people dressing up as Batman as Joker, which was kind of cool. It was pretty cool. It wasn't as polished as like a big budget title.
Yeah.
Matchmaking was a huge problem when it first came out. It would take ages to get a game. You'd literally have to wait in the lobby for like 15 minutes to get a game.
Oh wow.
I bought it when it came out. It was cheap when it came out. It didn't really matter, but it became free to play pretty quickly. So not a lot of people bought it, obviously. God. Next up, one of the few Nintendo games I've got on this list: Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games. Okay, two versions to talk about. I own the 3DS version, which is quite good as like it's just mini games. That's all it is. It's kind of fun with the stylus. Like archery is kind of fun. You flick the stylus to shoot your bow. It's okay. I paid full price for it, which I regret. I thought it'd be more. I don't know why I thought the 3DS version would be any good, but there you go. Oddly, this is one of the rare cases where I think the Wii version is actually worse. The Wii version was ridiculous. It was the main mode of the Wii version was you basically playing like a board game around London and doing crappy mini games. That's the gist of it. There were kind of events, mini parties and stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't a very good game at all.
It also seems like most of the events just seem to be shaking the controller and nunchuck up and down.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, the official Olympic Games that come out, I had the Athens one that came out ages ago. That was 2004.
Yeah.
They were basically just mash buttons, but
Yeah.
I mean, it was kind of fun.
I had a Winter Olympics one on the Wii, which was quite good, but yeah, it's just either button mashing or just shaking the Wii remote.
Yeah, it's okay, I suppose, for a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But the trouble was Mario and Sonic was about on average £10 and $10 more than a normal Wii game.
God. Yeah.
Next game. I say game. It's not really a game. By the Chinese Room, a developer I hadn't heard of until this came out. Dear Esper. Now, only a few people are even going to know what this was. It was put on sale on Steam as a daily deal, I think, once, and a lot of people bought it then. There was a little bit of controversy around it in that it was a bit misleading on Steam. It didn't make it clear that it wasn't a game. It was just like an art piece, kind of.
Yeah.
But yeah, dear Esper, if you're into arty experimental games, then go ahead. But not my sort of thing. Think Journey. If Journey had like none of the good parts of Journey.
Yeah.
If Journey was literally just walking around, that's what Dear Esper was. Oh, next up, by Ubisoft, Rayman Origins. There's not a lot to say about this other than it's Rayman. It's
just another
back.
Rayman.
It's 2D Rayman. It was good. I've got it on PS3. I'm pretty sure all versions were basically the same. I've seen the Wii version, I think, and that was pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Rayman. It was, I think, considered one of the better ones. Which is weird because they've been putting them out for a while now in 3D. I think a lot of the Raymans have been since.
Yeah, Rayman 2 was the first 3D one.
Yeah, Rayman 1 was the only 2D one up until they started doing this.
Yeah.
And they're continuing the series because Rayman, I can't even remember what it's called. The Wii U one that's coming out is going to be in the same style.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rayman. If you like Rayman, it's Rayman. I love the original Rayman. Had it on PlayStation.
I do too. Yeah. I got the It's like you get those like double deal disc game things.
Yeah.
I got Rayman and Rayman 2 one.
How was Rayman 2? Because I never played that.
Rayman 2 is pretty good. It's it's pretty much nothing like the first one. It's kind of like a separate. It's almost like it's like a completely different game, but with Rayman, and you've got like extra characters that come in and help you on your adventure quest and stuff. And yeah, it's just pretty much like a regular adventure game, but with Rayman.
I remember when I first played the original Rayman, finding it incredibly hard, and I went back to it. It might have been as recent as last year, and played it, and I just breezed through it like it wasn't a problem at all. Oh, next up from Capcom. There aren't many Capcom games on this list, actually. Asura's Wrath. Had you heard of Asura's Wrath?
I don't think so. No.
This was another one that wasn't really marketed very well. Kind of hard to explain this one. It's very much in the style of like a Japanese anime, like a Dragon Ball Z. That's the best way of describing what it was presented like. Lots of quick time events, but also mixed in with like side-scrolling fighting and third-person fighting. Odd game, very odd story. And the protagonist is basically just angry. That's why it's called Asura's Wrath. But he's like angry to the point of being ridiculous. Like he's so angry. He's constantly on screen. He's just raging in every moment. And it does that annoying anime thing of I am charging up. I am charging up. This is not my final form. You haven't defeated me. This is my ultimate form. So like the battles in this game go on for hours. Basically, the way it works is each stage is really a boss, like somebody you've got to beat.
Yeah.
But you can't just beat them once. You've got to beat them like 10 times or something ridiculous. But overall, it is actually a really good game. It's just completely over the top. And if you like anime, if you like that Japanese style, you'll really like Asura's Wrath. Ooh, on to March. first major game I've got down here that came out in March from EA and Bioware, Mass Effect 3. I know you haven't played any of the Mass Effects, have you?
No, I'm not familiar with Mass Effect.
There's not a huge amount I could talk about without going into spoilers for Mass Effect 3. All I'll say is people who liked Mass Effect 3 generally like this game, apart from the ending. I'll talk about the ending a bit more later on. But I'm trying to keep this spoiler free for now. I'll just say now, when we go into our top 10, spoilers are all over the place.
Yeah.
For now, Mass Effect 3 is very good. If you played Mass Effect 1 and 2, you probably already played it anyway, so I don't have to tell you to play this one. But I really liked Mass Effect 3. Even with the ending and all that, I really, really liked Mass Effect 3. Next up, I have from Sony Studios, MLB The Show. It's a baseball game. I played the crap out of it. I don't even care about baseball when I play the crap out of it. It's one of the few sports games we've got on this list. If you like baseball, I should say, if you like video baseball, buy MLB The Show. It's good.
I like the fact that even though it's this year's game, it's still used this year's number rather than all the games that come out this year use 13.
Yeah, FIFA 13.
Yeah, FIFA 13, WWE 13,
NHL 13. Yeah.
This was like, yeah, no, we're sticking to the year we came out.
Next up, a downloadable game by darkworks / Ubisoft. I Am Alive. Had you heard of this one?
It rings a bell, but
this game was available for pre-order on Amazon Play and all that for a very long time, for about 3 years, I think, in boxed form for PlayStation and Xbox. In the end, it got cancelled and then got brought back to life as a downloadable game. It's very hard to explain this one if you haven't seen it, but think, what's the Naughty Dog game coming out? Oh, The Last of Us. Yeah,
Last of Us.
Go watch all the Last of Us videos if you've seen all that. Yeah,
I've seen quite a few.
Yeah. Imagine that, but like lower budget. This is almost like a proof of concept of what The Last of Us is going to be.
Right.
It's no relation, obviously. Completely different studios, but I'm Alive is basically set in a post-apocalyptic world of, I can't remember what the city is. It's New York or something. It's normally New York, because there's no other city in America. It's always New York. And you play a guy who comes across a girl, just like The Last of Us, and you kind of take care of her. And the concept of the game is basically, you are surviving. You need water. You can't fight like you can in normal games. If you get into a fight, you can take hardly any damage. If you've got a gun, one of the cool mechanisms of the way confrontations work is you don't have to fight everyone. You can kind of intimidate people, try to talk your way out of it. So what sometimes happens is you will have a gun, and sometimes you won't have any bullets.
Yeah.
But what you can do is you can pull out your gun and point it at somebody, and tell them like back off, and they don't know that you don't have any bullets, and you can bluff your way through. This works one-on-one most of the time, but often you'll be confronted with more than one person trying to attack you, and you'll be able to like stall them for a bit, and then they'll attack you.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. The only downside is it's very rough around the edges. Like, it's clear that they didn't put a lot of money into making it. It is such a shame because it's such a good concept, but I guess we're going to get the game anyway in The Last of Us. So
yeah.
It's almost scary how similar to The Last of Us it is, despite being completely different studios. Next up, by That Game Company. That's the name.
That's the name of
the company. Yep.
That Game Company.
Also a downloadable title, Journey, exclusive PlayStation Network. Journey is so hard to explain. It's almost the definition of hipster arty game, except this one is just incredible.
Yeah.
It is so good. It's all about the experience. How do you explain it? You walk through the world. You have kind of puzzles to do. Sort of. They're not that complicated. But
like basic.
one of the big things this game does is you are constantly online and you meet other people. You don't know who they are until the end of the game. I think you do get told who you played with, but while you're playing, you just come across people. They can help you, you can help them. You're encouraged to do that, or most people do that. It's not the sort of game where you get the COD crowd of like, oh, I'm not going to help you, you fag.
The Daisy crowd, I'm going to kill you.
I'm just going to kill you and take your stuff. Yeah, there's no stuff to take.
No.
You can't communicate at all. You can just do like a little beep.
Yeah, there's.
All I can say is play it if you have a PlayStation, because it is so good and it's so hard.
So beautiful, like even though the main character looks kind of cartoony, the world is just
gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
you really got to see for yourself to fully.
A lot of the promotional material for it just showed off the desert, which is right at the start. The game's not that. You go through a lot of different worlds. It's simultaneously a very beautiful, happy game, but it also goes very dark in places. Despite it, just play it. Just play it, because I can't do the game justice.
No.
On to April. By Almost Human, The Legend of Grimrock. I didn't play this, but it's a classic dungeon crawler. That's it. That's all there's to say on it, really. If you like dungeon crawlers, you'll like The Legend of Grimrock. All I really know about it is the dungeons are procedurally generated, so you can play it over and over again. It's very similar to games that came out in the 90s for PC, kind of adventure games, dungeon crawlers, that sort of thing. If you're into that, you'll like The Legend of Grimrock. Next up from Polytron, Fez, one of the few indie games on this list. Fez is a platformer whereby you can rotate the world 360 degrees. Basically, the way it works is, imagine the world as a square, and you're playing on the outside of that square.
Yeah.
You rotate that square, but your character stays in the same place.
Oh, I see. It's a bit like there was a PS1 game called Cooler World where you're a ball, and you could go on each. It was like a level made out of like well, it was the shape of the thing was square, but it was all kinds of like different puzzles, and you could like go on different faces of this puzzle and pick up stuff on the way. It's yeah. If you don't know what Cooler World is, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But
yeah. I quite liked Fez. I didn't think it was amazing. Would I recommend it? I guess if it's not very expensive. If you like kind of old school platformers, and I mean old school like NES style, you probably like Fez. It also appeared in Indie Game the Movie, if anyone's seen that. Next up from Project Red. I think they're actually called Project CD Red or something, but I'm not sure. The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings on the Xbox 360. The Witcher 2 had already come out not last year now, but 2011. The Witcher 2 had come out on PC. Assassins of Kings was the massive, like 9 gigabyte patch that the PC got for free, and then they put it on disc, 360 version. It made the game easier, which is an odd thing to patch into the game, but it also fixed a ton of bugs and added a bunch of new content. The Witcher 2 is really good. It's a very old style RPG. Originally on PC, it was very unforgiving. It was known for being a very hard game, which is, I guess, why they patched in the difficulty for the 360. But yeah, The Witch 2 is a really good RPG, and if you like RPGs, play The Witch 2. It's also got quite high spec though for the PC, so you need quite a powerful PC to play it. Unfortunately, unless you got 360, in which case just get the Assassins of Kings edition. Downloadable game next by Red Links, Trials Evolution. Yes, Trials is still coming out. The Flash game that used to be on miniclip.com for that is still going, and now it's on the Xbox Live Marketplace. I'm guessing it's on the PSN. I'm not actually sure. This is good. It's but the same exact concept as the original Trials. It's 3D now, but you go along, you do your trials. That's it. The formula hasn't changed. The fun is in crashing. It's always been in crashing. If you like the old Flash games, if you like the 3D one that came out on PC, which I can't remember the name of, you'll like Trials Evolution. This is probably the best one they've put out because it's got so many courses and it's got a really, really good level editor, which some people have done some ridiculous stuff with. Some people have managed to make fully functioning pinball machines.
Oh wow!
Out of the Trials level editor, which is just mind blowing. Someone also managed to make levels from the original Mario in the Trials Evolution level editor. I just don't know how they do it. Last game for April. Ooh, and it's a big one. From Telltale Games. The Walking Dead Episode 1 came out in April. I know you haven't played it, but you must have heard of The Walking
Dead. I've heard of it because it's all over my Tumblr dashboard all the time.
Yeah. Oh, The Walking Dead. Okay, so it's an old school kind of point and click, where investigation game.
Yeah.
Like Monkey Island. The Telltale Games were known for making this style of game with movie or TV licenses, but not doing a very good job. The game before this was Jurassic Park, which was a steaming turd of a game, in which you had stuff.
Awful.
In which you had stuff like giant metal gates that would open with a wooden door sound effect, which is borderline like the old Resident Evils would do stupid stuff like that. Another game that's coming out in 2000. But yeah, so there was no hype for this coming into it. Everyone was like, oh, it's just another Telltale cash in on a TV license. Somehow, this game turned out to be one of the best stories to ever be in a video game ever. This shocked everyone. The Walking Dead was a candidate for Game of the Year pretty much everywhere. In fact, it won Game of the Year at the VGAs. Not that anyone cares about the VGAs, but yeah, a point-and-click adventure by a company known for putting out really subpar games turned out to be absolutely amazing. Mostly because of its characters and the writing. The writing was just phenomenal for this, and it was a really cool way they put it out. Basically, what you do is you'd pay for all the episodes of 5 in total.
Yeah.
So if you were there from the very start, you bought episode 1 for, it was $25, something like that. It wasn't very expensive, and then that gave you access to every game, every episode as it came out. It took a while to all come out. Like episode 5 only came out like last month.
Oh. Right.
So it was a long period of time this came out with.
Yeah.
But it's basically they treated it as a TV show, essentially. It was a TV show that ran for like half a year, but in video game. And they are commissioned for a season 2. So The Walking Dead season 2 will be coming out in 2030, I think. I don't think it has a confirmed release date, but I'm expecting it to be next year. Or this year.
Yeah.
In May, first game, we've got by Rebellion Studios Sniper Elite version 2. This was basically gore porn. It's well, it's a sniping game. It's not a sniping simulator by any stretch of the imagination. It's basically a third-person shooter that's heavily revolves around the sniper. Best thing about this game is the slow-mo kills where it follows the bullet and then it goes into X-ray mode as it goes through the person you've just shot, which is why it's complete gore porn. But outside of that, it's just a very average third-person shooter. But there's something so satisfying about shooting someone like in the head and seeing the bullet go through their skull. You could even shoot someone in the testicles and you would see them explode.
Oh.
Yeah, Sniper Elite. You can get it fairly cheap now if you like World War II shooters. If you like
exploding testicles.
Yeah, if you like shooting stuff and seeing it go splat, you will like Sniper Elite version 2. Don't know why they called it version 2 instead of just 2, but yeah, there you go. Next up, one of my favourite games from this year by Rockstar, Max Payne 3. I love Max Payne. I played the shit out of Max Payne 1 and 2. They were so good, and bullet time was so cool before the memories did it. Max Payne 3, before it came out, looked like a complete betrayal, kind of. It had a completely different setting, and most of the game takes place in Brazil. Max Payne 1 and 2 took place in New York because Max Payne was a NYPD police officer. Well, he was at the start of the game. Spoilers. But all the promotional material for Max Payne 3 showed him in Brazil and all these bright colours. And Max Payne 1 and 2 was always about film noir. That's essentially what it was. It was an homage to film noir.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's Max Payne, I'm going to buy it. It looked like it played like Max Payne, so I was like, okay, I'll take a risk on it. I'll pre-order it, I'll buy it. It turned out to be amazing. It's just like Max Payne 2, except modernized. Everything was improved. Better physics, better engine, better graphics, obviously. The graphics were incredible. It was one of the best games graphically for the year. One of the best games graphically so far as well.
Yeah.
The presentation was a little odd. Some people didn't like it. There was an emphasis on making everything very fast in the cutscenes. And there was this weird thing they did where they'd flash up words on the screen.
Oh, right.
As somebody was saying some dialogue, like, I'm going to kill you. When you'd say the word kill, for some reason, kill would come up on the screen. That was a little odd. Some people didn't like it. I thought it was okay. It was a little distracting at times. But yeah, in terms of the story, it's set in Brazil for a very good reason. And it does not detract from it being a Max Payne game. You do spend about, not quite half the game, but almost half the game in flashbacks back in New York anyway. So there's lots of throwbacks to Max Payne 1 and 2. And yeah, if you like Max Payne 1 and 2, you have to buy this. You have to play this. It plays just like more like Max Payne 2. Max Payne 1's a little dated now.
Yeah.
But yeah, one of the best things about this is the ragdoll physics, which are just amazing. It has some of the most realistic dead bodies I have ever seen in a game. Even though they glitch out sometimes, but usually it's fine. Next up. Oh yeah, I'm not sure why I included this. This isn't a full game. This is DLC, but this is Binding of Isaac: Wrath of the Lamb. This was just DLC for the original Binding of Isaac, which added more enemies, more rooms, and stuff like that, more items as well. If you liked Binding of Isaac, you probably pick this up. It's not very expensive. I'd advise you do it. It adds so much stuff to the game. Binding of Isaac itself, very fun, very cheap game. A little twisted because it's by Ed McMillan, who made Super Meat Boy. Also has a new game coming out next year that nobody knows anything about. It's going to be about cats, kind of. All we know is that the promotional picture for it is a cartoon cat. And God knows what it's going to be like. It's going to be weird knowing Ed McMillan going by Super Meat Boy and Binding of Isaac.
Yeah.
Yeah, Binding of Isaac.
If you don't know what Binding of Isaac is, we do have a video. Cheap plug.
On to June. Game by James Gunn's Grasshopper Studios. Not many people played this, I don't think. Lolipop Chainsaw. This has quite a bit of hype coming into it, mostly because they ran a competition to see who would play the main character in all the adverts and that. The main character being a cheerleader, a typical blonde cheerleader.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Jessica Negri won the competition or not, but she went with them to promote the game at conventions. At PAX, she got in a lot of trouble because on the first day of PAX Prime, I think it was, she dressed up in one of the alternate costumes of the main character, Juliet, that was like kind of completely open down the middle. So she was showing like 50% of her tits. And PAX has a very strict no booth goes policy, so she got removed from the show floor and got forced to cover up, which created a bunch of free publicity for them. Yeah, well, the concept of this was, you played this cheerleader in a zombie apocalypse, trying to save the world, kind of, and your boyfriend gets infected, so you cut his head off, and somehow he survives as a head that she carries around with her attached, like, to her belt. So all this time you're running around the game, and his head is like bobbing against your ass. It was really cool in concept. The soundtrack was kind of good. It had like a rock and metal soundtrack for the most part.
Yeah.
There's a few older songs like "Hey Mickey's" in it. The song "Lollipop's" in it, obviously. But gameplay wise, it was very repetitive. It just wasn't very good. The story was good. That was the only reason to play through it. But gameplay wise, it was a chore after the first couple of hours, which was disappointing because I had quite high hopes for this one coming into it, but just didn't turn out to be very good. Oh, and it starts out very funny, humor-wise. The humor's very good, kind of toilet humor. For some reason, like at the halfway point, the game just starts becoming just lame in terms of its jokes, which does not help. Next, out from Airtight Games, published by Square Enix, Quantum Conundrum. This was, if I'm not mistaken, made by some people who made Portal and split off from Valve. It's in a very similar style to Portal, in that you're going through rooms, you're solving puzzles. With physics puzzles, with a physics gum. There's a narrator that sounds suspiciously like Stephen Fry. It's not Stephen Fry. I'm not sure if that was the intention to make it sound like Stephen Fry, but it's a fun puzzle game. If you like Portal, you will like Quantum Conundrum. What is the damn story of it? There's not much story of it. You're a kid in like your uncle's, I think, house or mansion, and the power goes off or something and you get trapped and you're trying to make it to him or something. And he's a scientist, so he's got all these crazy rooms with stuff set up. It doesn't really matter. The story doesn't matter. It's not like Portal where the story's as important as the puzzles. It's just, go to this room, solve this puzzle. It's very fun though, and I'd recommend it if you can find it for cheap and you like puzzles. Last game of June published by 2K Games. I've forgotten who made it. It's Spec Ops: The Line, one of the sleeper hits of the year. Everyone, when they saw this, assumed, "Oh dear God, it's another modern shooter." I didn't pick it up until recently. I passed over it thinking it was the shooter as well, until I heard the ridiculous hype around the people who had played it. It's a very hard game to talk about without spoiling it. The story in this is one of the best stories you will ever get in a shooter game. It's clearly an anti-war game. It almost makes fun of itself in that it kind of takes jabs at people who play violent video games as well. There's not a lot I could say about the story other than that it's a war game that tries to make you hate what you're doing. It's a war game that doesn't like say, "Here, have a grenade launcher, kill a bunch of people. Yeah, look how badass you are." It's a game that every time you kill someone, you're supposed to feel like an asshole.
Yeah.
It's one of the best cases for video games as an art medium. It is so well written. It's so unique as well for a war game to actually have some substance behind it and not just be like Call of Duty, where it's a little ridiculous. But yeah, if you can find it for cheap, and you sometimes can on Amazon, the PC version, the console versions are still quite expensive, but play Spec Ops: The Line. Don't dismiss it like I did as just another military shooter. It is very good. On to July. Wait, what? Oh, wait, nothing came out in July. I got confused for a second. I've got July and then nothing written under it. Something probably came out in July, but not important enough for me to put my list, apparently. Straight on to August then. First game of August came out, a big one. Square Enix's Sleeping Dogs, or Grand Theft Auto Hong Kong. Well, as it originally was going to be True Crime Hong Kong, they cancelled True Crime Hong Kong and rebranded it as Sleeping Dogs, and that was a brilliant move because it's kind of a sleeper hit. No, everyone thought this would be kind of crappy because it just looked like a rip-off of Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
It plays a lot like Grand Theft Auto, but it's not a bad thing. It's got a really good storyline. The story's kind of like Chinese gang.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it. It's Grand Theft Auto but in Hong Kong. It really is Grand Theft Auto Hong Kong.
The thing I liked about it was the fact it's more based on, like, combat is more kung fu than it is just gun.
Yeah, that was one of the really good things about it, is you're encouraged to use melee instead of shooting. You shoot a lot towards the end of the game, but it uses a fighting system similar to Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, in that you counters and you can be surrounded by enemies, but like you press a direction, the kick button, you
interact with objects.
Yeah, quite cool as well. You can drag people and do environmental kills. Some of them are really graphic. There's one you can do if you're on top of buildings. Sometimes those fans you get, outside of vents. So the hot air comes out.
Yeah,
you drag them and you can put the face in.
Oh.
Oh. But yeah, Sleeping Dogs. You have to play if you like Grand Theft Auto, but didn't really like Grand Theft Auto 4 because it took itself too seriously. Play Sleeping Dogs. If you're a fan of like kung fu movies, there's a lot of homages to kung fu movies in Sleeping Dogs. You will like Sleeping Dogs, and Kill Bill as well. You can actually get as a unlockable outfit, I think, Kill Bill suit. No, it's not a Kill Bill suit, is it? It's Bruce Lee. That's why it's in Kill Bill, because it's Bruce Lee. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. But yeah, Sleeping Dogs, Kung Fu, and Grand Theft Auto. Great success. Next up, for the Nintendo 3DS, I think this is the last 3DS game I've got on here. Published by Nintendo, New Super Mario Bros. 2. It's Mario. Like every 2D Mario game is, except this is probably one of the worst I've played. I pre-ordered this and I was so pissed off. It's not that it's badly designed, it's just that it is very short and very easy. The worst example of it being too easy is if you die, it could be as little as 5 times on one level. It gives you a invincibility thing that lasts for the entire level.
Oh god.
You know the Tanuki suit that lets you kind
Yeah.
of fly? It's the raccoony thing, I think.
Yeah.
It's that mixed with star power, but it's permanent for the entire level. So yeah, if you're dying too much, just have some invisibility. One of the most ridiculous things was after I'd finished the game, I went back and I was playing it again. I died. The last level was quite hard, the one where you've got to get to Bowser, but I got the invisibility because I died a bunch of times, and I just thought, okay, can I use this on Bowser? Because I was like, I was thinking, surely not, because that would be absolutely ridiculous. I took the invincibility thing and I killed Bowser immediately in 1 second. I couldn't believe it.
Oh dear.
It's just so disappointing. And I know people who loved it, who thought it was really good, and it was okay. It was a decent Mario game. The coin thing was really good. It kept track of your all-time coins as a little counter, and everyone in the world, like, it kept track of how many coins had been collected through the entire world as like a big number that it kept updated. That was probably the coolest thing about it. Just too easy and too short. Next up, the only Valve game on here, I think. Yeah, I don't have Dota 2 on here, but Counter-Strike Global Offensive. This was the first update to Counter-Strike for quite a while. I think the newest one before this was Counter-Strike Source. This added something that was greatly needed to Counter-Strike, which was tutorials and offline bots. Jesus Christ, Counter-Strike is completely noob unfriendly. It's such a competitive game. I mean, it's the big draw at tournaments and stuff. Counter-Strike, the original, is still played at tournaments. That came out God knows how long ago. Counter-Strike Go is best if you've ever been interested in Counter-Strike but have been worried by the fact that you cannot practice freely without just jumping into a public game and getting annihilated, as I did quite a few times. Even on Counter-Strike Go, after going through all the tutorials, I got destroyed on some levels. Very hard game to learn. If you've never played it, it's basically an attempt at a realistic shooter. It's a hugely competitive tactical game. You don't play this casually. There is no casual Counter-Strike. You have to be really good at shooters to play Counter-Strike. If you're a newbie, this is the one to get. Don't get the others. Get the others after using this to learn, is what I'd advise. Because the competitive scene did not adapt to Counter-Strike Go for whatever the reason. They still play Source and 1.6, the original one. Last game of August, ArenaNet's Guild Wars 2. The game that was supposed to kill off World of Warcraft. That didn't happen. Guild Wars 2, I played a lot of Guild Wars 2. I was in the betas, I had it pre-ordered. I've got my box sitting near me. It was good for like the first 20 levels or so, and then it got very boring. It's not great. Well, it's good. It's a good MMO, but it's not the World of Warcraft killer that everyone made it out to be before it came out. It's better. I'd say it's better than World of Warcraft just because it's come out so many years after World of Warcraft. It basically has to be because it's more advanced in terms of technology and the way it handles combat. If you're into MMOs, chances are you're already playing Guild Wars 2. Graphically, it's nothing special, although for an MMO, I suppose it's decent. Combat-wise, it's okay. It's basically like World of Warcraft. It's a grind. You Yeah, I mean, I was really disappointed by Guild Wars 2, to be honest. I actually found Terra to be much better than Guild Wars 2, which might be an unpopular opinion, but Terra was better graphically. I still think Terra had the best combat system I've ever played in an MMO. Story-wise, I was completely lost on Terra, though. It's a very Japanesey style game, but yeah, I mean, I don't have to recommend Guild Wars 2. If you're into MMOs, you're probably already playing it, or World of Warcraft. Speaking of which, September, Blizzard's World of Warcraft Mists of Pandaria. Pandas for World of Warcraft.
It looks like Kung Fu Panda, but
yeah, I'm in no position to actually talk about World of Warcraft. I don't play it. I don't particularly like it, but it's pandas in World of Warcraft.
Kung Fu Panda, but serious.
I haven't heard anyone say anything positive about this, so I don't think World of Warcraft's going to last too much longer. I think it's probably got a couple of years in it. Then it'll go free to play, and then it'll go under. I just don't see how they can keep up their fan base. I mean, how long's World of Warcraft been out? It's been
God knows.
quite a long time. Because like Cataclysm came out, Wrath of the Lich King. They keep adding expansions that were good for the most part. I'd heard Cataclysm came out last year, I think, was pretty good. This one I've not heard much positive about. It's
the only thing that I've really liked about World of Warcraft is the adverts, like Mr. T and Ozzy Osbourne.
I think Chuck Norris was in.
Yeah, Chuck Norris was in. Yeah, and they were like little mini Chucks or something running around. I can't remember. Yeah, yeah, the adverts seem more appealing than the game itself.
Gearbox makes an appearance with Borderlands 2, a sequel to a game I liked, but was let down by a few niggles. Biggest one being the fact that you could get trapped on Borderlands 1 because you died, your ammo would not restock itself. So if you took on a mission that was too hard, you would die over and over again, and your ammo would slowly go down. It would get very, very hard to get past that mission. Kind of ruined the game,
yeah,
in a way, because it made the game very tedious and very grindy. Borderlands 2 fixed everything that was wrong with Borderlands 1. And the best thing that Borderlands 2's got is it has characters and dialogue beyond just claptrap and brief little mission briefings you got on Borderlands 1. Borderlands 2 is funny. It's got like a guy called Shooty Face or something, and he gives you a mission to shoot him in the face. And it does have billions of guns.
Yeah.
A ridiculous amount of guns. The DLC added more guns.
Oh god.
Graphically, it's very good. It's cel-shaded just like Borderlands 1 was, but they polished it a little bit so it looks even nicer.
Yeah.
Gunplay is really good. Not much more to say. It was Borderlands 1, but improved just massively.
Yeah.
Borderlands 1 with proper, really good story, and they had the sense to restock your ammo when you died. On to October. Oh, Capcom. Resident Evil 6.
Yeah.
Now, I really like Resident Evil. And I really like Resident Evil 4 and 5, which some people don't because of the switch from survival horror to action. Resident Evil 6 was just awful. It's so bad. Holy shit. I don't like the people who hated on Resident Evil 5 for not being very Resident Evil-y. And even I hated Resident Evil 6 for not being very Resident Evil. Holy crap, this game is bad. There's so much wrong with it. Okay. There's so much to talk about. I'm getting flustered. The way they split up the story is, for the first time, you don't just play as one person. There's 3 campaigns to play through. One is Leon Kennedy, who was the star of Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 4. His campaign is more like Resident Evil old styles. It's proper zombies this time. It's not the virus and the zombies who can run and all that crap.
Yeah.
His campaign was actually quite good. Okay, I'll let them get away for that. Next campaign, I can't even remember the character's name. They were so forgettable. There was a guy and a girl. It was shooty. It was like Resident Evil 5, but even more actiony. Not very good. The characters weren't very good. Obviously, I don't even remember what they were called. The absolute worst campaign, Chris Redfield, was basically a third-person military shooter. The enemy zombies, not actually zombies because they're the virus ones, the last plagas, they had guns. They had machine guns. You were fighting people with machine guns. It's a Resident Evil game. It's a zombie franchise. I didn't mind that Resident Evil 4 and 5 had last plagas instead of normal zombies because they were still zombie-like. They just weren't actually zombies.
Yeah.
But this was just ridiculous. This was zombies charging at you with a machine gun. And you, as Chris Redfield, were going around with machine guns, mowing down these people. What the fuck were they? I don't know what they were thinking with this game. Not even that. Graphics, it looks crap. It looks awful. It looks like a game from a few years ago. Camera. The camera is so close to your back that your character takes up half the screen. And then you've got your HUD, which takes up a quarter of the screen. It makes you physically dizzy because there's like this weird motion blur and you're so zoomed in and you can't see what's coming at you. It's just awful. Awful. Stop making Resident Evil games. This is it. The series is done unless you're going to go... Yeah, I don't see anything saving this. Just bad. Onto a good game.
A very
Published
good
by
game.
Bethesda, made by Arcane Studios, Dishonoured. One of the brand new series, which we're going to get a franchise of, apparently, according to somebody at Bethesda. Dishonoured was so good. I'll get the negatives out of the way straight away. Graphics, not very good. I know they were going for an arty style, but it just didn't look very good.
No.
Even on the PC, with settings up full, it looked kind of crap. Well, crap's a little harsh. It looked messy.
Like the scenery was pretty good. It's just
when you
characters
got
seemed a bit,
when you got up close to stuff as well, very good.
Yeah.
Gameplay wise, this was amazing.
It was.
This game hinged on, is the stealth and movement going to be good in the first person? And it was. It was really good. The blink ability, really good. Dark vision. He hunts dice.
He hunts dice.
The story, there isn't a huge amount of story. It's an odd game in the way it's presented. In that it's not a short game by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of stuff you're doing, but they present it in such a way where you're not hit by masses of cutscenes.
No.
In fact, are there any cutscenes?
I don't think there is.
It's all in game.
It's just all in game.
Yeah. The big controversy with this before it came out was people were panicking because some site I've never heard of put up a review saying, we finished it in 4 hours, it's not very good. And everyone was like, oh dear, it's going to be disappointing, is it? So the reason this happened was, this is a game where you have to make it fun for yourself. You can play it 2 ways. You can be violent and just hack through people, which you can finish the game very quickly if you do that, but you're spoiling it.
Yeah.
You're really spoiling the game for yourself if you do that. Or you can do it stealthy, or more like what most people would have done. Try to do it stealthy, and then if you get caught, you kill someone. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. That's what I'm finding at the moment.
Yeah. I did both, but I found doing it very, very stealthy, like reloading constantly.
Yeah.
To make sure I got like as close
I've been trying to do that.
close to perfect as I could was the best way to do it. The reason you'd play it through twice is because they have a concept called chaos, which is basically the more killing you do, the more bodies, the more mess you leave, the higher chaos you get, which causes things in the world to get darker. More rats will be around. People will treat you differently. One of the best examples of this is when on my run where I was being nice to everyone, I was just choking them out. I wasn't killing anyone. Quite close to the end of the game, the girl you're protecting, Emily, you get up after loading from a mission to start the you know the pub is your hub.
Yeah.
You always wake up there. You wake up and you find a picture on your bedside table, and it's a drawing of you without the mask with Daddy written on it, and I thought that was lovely. It's such a tiny touch, but I was like, oh, I'm glad I've been nice now.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens if you kill stuff. I didn't. That's the trouble when I was doing the playthrough where I just went through and killed everything, was I didn't even pay attention to the little details. I imagine like I think she becomes like progressively scared of you because you're being so violent or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dishonored is one of the must buys from this year. So next up, Xcom Enemy Unknown, published by 2K, developed by Fireaxis. A very good strategy game. XCOM was a very old strategy series on the PC. This version, really good. Really good graphics, really good interface. Very hard, even on the easiest difficulty, which is nice. Best part about this was the game gives you randomly generated soldiers that all start out on the rookie rank, which basically means they're crap. They can't do anything.
Yeah.
They get random names, random nationalities, but as they go on more missions with you, they rank up and eventually they get a nickname and they get a class and a speciality. But when they die, they go onto this memorial which lists all of your soldiers by name, how many missions they went on, and their rank when they died.
Oh wow!
So as you go through, because this game is hard and you lose a lot of people, as you go through, this memorial gets huge. And normally, what it is, you'll have a few higher ranked people, and then just a ton of rookies, because rookies have hardly any health, they have hardly any combat ability. But the really good thing about it is, you get really attached to your squad mates who manage to survive, because you'll use. If your squad gets really powerful, you might not lose anyone in a fight, but typically I found you lose one, maybe two, depending on how hard the mission is. So I've got a female Canadian sniper on my team. She's been on my team since the very start of my game. She's the only person that hasn't died. So every time I'm in a fight, and because she's a sniper, she stays back from the fight. She doesn't go near people. But occasionally, like, I'll cock up strategically and she'll take a hit or something, and then I'm immediately like, nope, retreat, pull her out of the battle, because I don't want her to die. She's been with me this whole time.
They kind of had that system on Hogs of War, if you remember that game.
Like, yeah, you
if you died a certain amount of times, they'd go forever, and you'd be upset that one pig that you've been with for a long time is gone.
Retro City Rampage. This is just a tribute to like retro NES gaming. Not too much to say about it other than play it. If you're a fan of old school Nintendo, then you will love Retro City Rampage. Chivelry Medieval Warfare by Torn Banner Studios. This started out as a Kickstarter of all things, and made its way onto Steam about the same time as War of Roses did, and it's the same sort of thing. It's Call of Duty with swords. Except this one's actually good. It's made on the Unreal Engine, so graphically it's good. Physics are pretty good. Very clunky when you first play. It's kind of hard to pick up, but once you do, it's really good fun. Oh god, oh god, oh god. EA's Medal of Honor Warfighter. You know your game's bad when even the mainstream publications tear it apart. I didn't play this because I'm not stupid. This looked awful. Every review, all gameplay I saw was just awful. They used the engine from Battlefield 3, but it had none of the good things about Battlefield 3 in it. Apparently, it was really glitchy on release. The story was really linear, loads of quick time events. The thing that I thought might be good would be the multiplayer, because they went with this angle with they put in a bunch of different countries and you'd fight for your country. But apparently the multiplayer was crap and buggy, so they ruined that part as well. Ubisoft, right. Remember when I said Darkness 2 was early contender for Disappointment of the Year?
Yeah.
Got all the way to October before something worse came out. Assassin's Creed 3. I love Assassin's Creed. I really like it. The first one had its problems, but I liked it. The Ezio games are brilliant. They're some of my favourite games ever. I was really excited for Assassin's Creed 3. None of the reviews were bad for it. All the preview material was really good. I pre-ordered the game for full price. I didn't even wait for a discount. And it was just awful. God. It's right. For starters, there's a new character this time, obviously, because they're moving on. That's why they numbered it 3 instead of giving it a subtitle. He's boring. He's just boring. You don't like him. He comes across as rude and just an asshole, basically. Graphically, this game's good, but at least on the PS3 version, it had so many pop-in problems and screen tearing and all sorts of crap. Probably one of the worst games technically I've ever played. It was full of bugs. Texture pop-in, as I said, was a huge problem. Story-wise, it was okay, but it wasn't great. Yeah, Assassin's Creed 3 just very disappointing. WWE 13 by THQ.
I feel I should take over, seeing as you haven't played it.
No.
Yeah, of course this year they've brought in the Attitude Era mode, and so you've got like the roster is huge once you've unlocked everything, because you've got half the Attitude Era guys, and then you've got all the current guys as well. So the roster's pretty huge, which is good. But other than the Attitude Era stuff, it's pretty much same old. It's pretty much 12, but with old guys in it. The Attitude Era mode's pretty good. It's nice to be able to play the classic moments rather than just watching them. And they do have like videos of it. You can unlock videos of it as well, so you can look back on the real thing after you've played it. Yeah. Other than that, it's pretty much the same as 12. They've brought in more stuff for the story designer mode, but it's really buggy because audio wise, like if you want to put somebody's entrance music in the background, you can there's the option to cut it off at a certain point, so that like when they start talking or whatever, they don't have the entrance music behind them. But for some reason they don't seem to work, so you end up going through about 5 scenes with like somebody's entrance music in the background. But yeah, it's pretty much 12, but with older, the old guys in it. So
It's better than 12.
yeah, I'd say yeah. I'd say it's better than 12 if you enjoyed the older stuff, like Attitude Era stuff.
But if you have
But
no interest in,
yeah, if you've got no interest in it, then it's no different than 12, except for people you don't know are in it as well.
I kind of feel like retrospectively, I wish I hadn't bought 12 and I'd have bought this instead.
Yeah,
Skipped a year because I was interested in the Attitude Era stuff, but having owned 12, I didn't feel like I wanted another one.
yeah,
Because,
yeah. No, not much
truth be
different.
told, THQ just not done a very good job of making each year's different.
Yeah, I mean, with 12 they had the new engine, which was pretty good. But other than that, it
That
was
was
no.
good, yeah. On to November then. First game, one needs for zone because we don't have a console. But the first Halo game by 343, Halo 4. Don't know how to talk about this one, neither of us own it.
Well, to me, it would just feel like another Halo, just
It
space
looked,
people
it
shooting
looked
each
like
other.
another Halo, which isn't necessarily bad. I know
Well,
Halo is pretty good. The first Halo in particular was good from what I saw of it. I've been tempted to track it down on PC, but I have to get it off eBay. Yeah, not much to say about Halo 4. We can't really speak about it. Call of Duty Black Ops 2 by Treyarch. So, Modern Warfare 3 was a steaming turd of a game. I hated it. It was probably the worst of all the Call of Duties. So, I didn't have much hope for Black Ops 2. Black Ops 1 was one of my favourite ones of the modern Call of Duties. I thought the story was really underrated and the multiplayer was very good. But still, Modern Warfare 3 was so bad, I was like, okay, this will probably be my last Call of Duty if it's bad.
Yeah.
Pleasantly surprised, Black Ops 2 is really good. I like the story in this one, though I didn't think it was quite as good as Black Ops 1. I kind of like the small choices you have as you're going through the story, where like, what's a good example about one? There's like a moment where you are a sniper and you're presented with somebody with a bag on his head, and you can either kill him or you can, I think it's shoot him in the legs or something.
Yeah.
That was nice. I mean, it didn't affect the story all that much, at least not until the ending. But that was a nice twist on Call of Duty, which has normally been pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Online, it's still the same as Black Ops 1, obviously. It
Well, yeah.
doesn't change much year from year to year, but no bugs this time, as far as I've seen.
No. Yeah. We've had
No connectivity problems, easy to get into
no.
games, easy to get your friends into parties. But Black Ops 1 is still a problem, even now. Trying to play zombies is
Yeah.
really hard to get your friends into a game. Don't know why. There's going to be no support for it because they've moved on. But yeah, no problem so far with Black Ops 2. Zombie mode also very good in this one, much better than
Yeah.
it was in Black Ops 1. Moving on to... Oh, sorry, were you going to say something?
Oh yeah, I was going to say the transit mode in Zombies is a good, and well, the new thing that
Yeah,
I think is really
yeah,
well done.
it's really good. Yeah, we still haven't found everything to find in that.
No,
It's...
we decided to hop on the bus and go all the way around and see what we could find.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
New Super Mario Bros. U by Nintendo. I'll have to take this, given that I'm the one that owns the Wii U. This is really good. This is one of the best Marios that has come out for a long time. It's also one of the hardest Marios that's come out for a long time. Complete opposite of New Super Mario Bros. 2 on the 3DS. This is really hard. The levels are designed very well. It's Mario. There's not much more to say about that. Sonic All-Stars Racing Transformed. This looked like it would be one of the millions of bad Mario Kart clones.
Yeah.
It's not. It's really good fun. It's Mario Kart, but with Sega characters. Some of the characters in it are a little weird. Like there's Wreck-It Ralph for some reason. There's Danica Patrick, I think her name is. She's some sort of presenter in a Formula One car. I don't know, but BD Joe is in it from Crazy Taxi. I have no idea why. I mean, oh, okay, Crazy Taxi was a Sega game, but it's really weird seeing this black stereotype in a black stereotype in a taxi racing alongside Sonic. Another Wii U game, Zombi U by Ubisoft. Ubisoft have been on this list quite a few times. They released a lot of games this year.
Yeah.
Zombie U, really good. I haven't finished it yet. I'm playing through it now. Uses the Wii U control pad really well. It's pretty damn hard. There's actually a hardcore mode where you only have one life, which I've only managed to get like a couple hours into before dying. It's a proper survival horror game, unlike Resident Evil 6. Anyway, another indie game here. The Tomorrow Corporation, the people who made World of Goo, released Little Inferno, which is a really bizarre game where you have shopping catalogs where you buy toys and you set them on fire. And that is the game. That's all you do, is buy toys and set them on fire. Don't know why, but there you go. One of the last heavy hitters of the year, Square Enix's Hitman Absolution. Oh, this game was good. So this game split people down the middle. It's not like the old Hitman games where it basically had no story. Blood Money kind of did, but you were given a target and a level, and then you went and killed your target in any way that you could.
Yeah.
This has a story that goes through the entire game, so you're moving from location to location. Some people hated that. I didn't mind it. I thought it was really good. I thought it was one of the best Hitman games I've played. Maybe not as good as Blood Money was. I was kind of hoping that this would be Blood Money on a new engine, a current gen Blood Money, but it wasn't. But still, voice acting and story in this is superb. It still plays like a Hitman game. The objectives are a little different. You're not always killing a target. Sometimes you just have to get to the end of the level. Sometimes the level's really short. That might be a console thing, because consoles couldn't handle the graphics on such a big area, but still, Hitman, one of my favourite games of the year. Scribblenauts Unlimited. Do you know what Scribblenauts is?
No, I've heard of it though.
There's been a few Scribblenauts games. It's the game where you type in anything and it should appear on screen. So like you type in like a shovel and a shovel will appear on screen.
Oh wow.
And you solve problems like that way. You can do some stupid stuff. You can type in Cthulhu and Cthulhu will appear. On the Wii U version of this, it has some exclusive stuff where you can have like Mario and Luigi appear. It's Scribblenauts. It's just as good as the other Scribblenauts games if you play them. Good fun. I don't know why it's as expensive as it is, because it's a full price game, I think, on the Wii U at least. But it's good fun. We're at the end. December. One game for December, thank Christ. Ubisoft, again, with Far Cry 3. This is really good.
Yes, it is.
I think it was IGN got made fun of because they called it Skyrim with guns. But I see what their point was.
Yeah.
It does feel similar to Skyrim in that it's open world. So far, I found the most fun in this game is literally going around the island, not the actual story itself.
Yeah,
the story is okay, but the best thing about it is Vars, who's one of the best villains I think in the game ever.
Yeah, brilliant.
He's really good. The funny thing is he wasn't even in the game originally. The guy who plays him came in to audition for another character, and they were so impressed by him, they wrote Vars in and gave him his like.
Wow.
It shows you how good a job the guy does as Vars. But yeah, that's it for everything that came out last year.